I got my job on radio with the Seattle Seahawks initially, and really that's because of some of the relationships that I fostered there in my time in Seattle. I was fortunate. Okay, let's face it, I grew up and went to high school in Puyallup, Washington. I played my college ball in Seattle, about 45 minutes away, and then I got drafted to the Seattle Seahawks. So my high school, college, and pro ball were all in my backyard, and because of that, I had some real inroads and I think some deeper roots in the community here. And when my career ended, a Seattle Seahawks organization said, hey, they actually reached out to me, would you have any interest in doing some of our pre and post game show? Again, not for significant dollars. Again, kind of a humbling situation to start over, but because of saying yes and saying yes at whatever cost early on, I got in the door. Ultimately, they were the flagship station of the Seattle Seahawks, is now the station that I work at on a full-time basis in sports talk radio. So that relationship of starting out with the Seahawks radio, then getting to meet some people at the flagship station, and then when the station really flipped over and brought their full-time sports station in, there were some natural connections that it made. I've always said, and I try to encourage interns when they come in or young people that want to get in the business, you hear that old adage that it's all about, life is about who you know. And I'll challenge that a little bit, and I'll say that what you know determines who you know. And the fact that I got to know a lot of people from a networking standpoint played a huge, huge role in getting in the door here 6 years ago, starting this radio station. You get better at broadcasting just like all of you got better as players, and that's through coaching, that's through critical analysis of yourself, that's through just simply not winging it and thinking I can just go out there and play. No, many of you achieved your dreams in the NFL or played collegiately at a very high level because you had wonderful coaching, you had wonderful criticism, you were critical of yourself and went back and said, nope, I need to work on this, I need to get better at this. You watched others perform. I still will listen to a Chris Collinsworth, or I will listen to a Troy Aikman, or I will listen to, in my opinion, some of the very best of Phil Simms, see what they do best. Get on the phone with them. I've been fortunate through the years to connect with some of those guys, talk to them about their process, about their off season, about their in season. So much like as a player, I bet many of you never rested as you really sought out greatness and to be the best at what you wanted to do. Coaching certainly helped. My agent comes alongside. He is critical and he will encourage and he will push and he will challenge. So much like as a player, the more coachable you are and the more driven you are, typically the better you're going to be at your field. The radio and television are very, very different animals. The radio is the most personal medium, period, end of story. Your ability to really connect with your audience is going to make or break your ratings. It's going to make or break your radio show, in my opinion. You can be as entertaining and as brilliant and as analytical as you want to be, but you have to have an ability to kind of turn that mirror back out and reflect and get back and engage with your audience. Television is a little bit of a different animal, especially in the broadcast side. While you still have to be, I think, entertaining, while you still have to connect, you got to be pinpoint on what you do and what you bring to the equation. And as I said to you multiple times here, your ability to answer that question of why, to paint that story, to be able to forecast that story, to react to that story, it feels, at least for me, from a game analyst standpoint, there's a real nitty gritty, there's a real analytical performance, there's a real stat line in some way, versus that radio medium. While there are ratings and while it is a meritocracy, your ability to really connect with the people around you plays such an enormous role in your success or your failure. My advice to you as well, when you get into the television world, I do the broadcasts and also in the studio work. My advice to you, because I've heard this numerous times from those producers that are willing to encourage young talent, is don't try to memorize everything. The worst thing you can do, and I fell into this trap a little bit, and while I over-prepare on my college football board, when you get in front of that studio camera, and just like the 45 minutes I've spent with you, I kind of had a sense where I wanted to go with this and the sense of what some of the questions may or may not be. And while you put together your list and you do your preparation, don't write everything down. Don't think you're going to memorize it. Don't think you're going to be perfect every time. Have some of just that humanness, that likability. Know what you want to talk about and be well versed in it, but don't be so robotic. Don't be so mechanical. Don't think you're going to memorize your way through looking so brilliant and so smart and so analytical. Yeah, you got to be, when this lens comes on and the lights come on and you do TV studio work, you got to have that conversational realness to still connect with both people on the set and that audience at large. Yeah, the advice along the way is a challenging one, because when you're a player, that advice is do all you can to stay in the NFL, right? That advice is do more. The more that you can do, the longer you're going to stick around in the NFL, while you also have those voices saying, hey, this isn't going to last forever, right? The average career is 3 years. You're going to have 30, 40, 50 years when you're done playing, hopefully, to figure out the next step of your life. So, that advice is not easy. I don't think it's concrete and crystal clear. And frankly, I don't think it can be, because not only is every situation different, but your drive to stay in that league, that hyper-competitive NFL, man, it requires nearly every bit of your energy and your resources. And if you're already planning and fully planning for what's next, I do think you got to be careful about, your ability to put everything in that tank that it takes competitively to play in the league. So while you hear that advice, while you hear that counsel of, hey man, there is life after football, don't let your whole life be wrapped up in that football identity, it too is a wonderful challenge. I would say again, it's not who you know, it's what you know determines who you know. And the quicker you start to figure out down the road, hey, where do I need to network? Where do I need to make relationship? Who do I need to connect with? Thankfully, I grew up here, my roots are here, my home is here, and I was able to make a lot of those and build those relationships early in my life. So my advice to you is whatever market you're in, whatever you and wherever you call home, to make sure you try to connect in the best way possible. And then if you can give encouragement to past players, do the same. That while those players are living their dream out and playing in the NFL, to just make sure that they can try to find that connection with home and where they think home will eventually be.